In 1936, workers digging near the village of Kujut Rabu, Iraq, uncovered a clay jar that defied easy explanation. It contained a copper cylinder and a rusted iron rod, components that, to a modern eye, look suspiciously like the guts of an electrical battery. The artifact stands 5.5 inches tall, made of bright yellow terracotta. Inside, a copper cylinder hangs from an asphalt plug. Down the center, completely insulated, is an oxidized iron rod. In 1938, Wilhelm Koenig realized this mirrored a galvanic cell, proposing it converted chemical energy into an electric current using two metals and an acidic liquid. If Koenig's hypothesis holds, it means the Parthian Empire was experimenting with electrochemistry, nearly 2 millennia before Alessandro Volta developed the first modern battery in 1800. The prospect of ancient electricity captivated 20th century researchers. By 1939, engineer Willard F.M. Gray was already building physical replicas to see if the design actually functioned as a power source. Modern experiments eventually validated the physics. In 2005, the Mythbusters team filled replica jars with lemon juice and successfully generated a measurable voltage. When they linked several jars in a series, they produced enough electricity to deliver a sudden, painful physical shock to the person touching them. These results suggested two possible ancient applications. Craftsmen might have used the current to electroplate silver jewelry with thin layers of gold, or priests could have rigged temple statues to deliver a divine electric chill to anyone who touched them. We have proven that the jar can produce electricity, yet the mainstream archaeological community remains almost entirely unconvinced that it was ever intended to be a battery. Proving that an object can do something in a modern lab is different from proving that ancient people actually used it that way. To find the truth, we have to look at the physical limitations of the artifact itself. The jar has a significant structural flaw. While the iron rod protrudes through the top, the copper cylinder is sealed beneath a thick layer of asphalt. Without breaking the seal, it is physically impossible to connect a second wire to the copper to complete an electrical circuit. Chemically, the design is just as impractical. Asphalt is a thermoplastic that hardens as it cools, making it difficult to refill with acid. Furthermore, an anatight seal prevents oxygen from reaching the reaction, which instantly kills the electrical output. The archaeological record is also silent. A working battery would leave behind heavy traces of copper salts inside the jar, which were never found. Additionally, we have found no evidence of electroplating from this era, only artifacts gilded using mercury. Structurally and chemically, the Kujut Rabu jar is a failure as a functional, sustainable battery. Studying an object in isolation often leads to speculation. Understanding the Kujut Rabu jar requires looking at the neighboring ancient cities of Seleucia and Ctesiphon to see how similar vessels were used. In those nearby excavations, researchers discovered at least 10 physically identical jars. The Baghdad Battery was not a unique anomaly, but part of a widespread regional tradition. These unlooted jars did not contain acidic liquids. Instead, they held bronze cylinders containing organic fibers and the decomposed remains of papyrus scrolls. When we compare the artifact to its regional peers, the technological fantasy of ancient electricity is quickly replaced by a much more grounded historical reality. Mainstream archaeologists now agree on the jar's true purpose. It was a protective ritualistic container. These vessels were built to house sacred spells, curses, or protective incantations written on papyrus. This conclusion is backed by the find site itself. At Seleucia, these jars were found buried alongside incantation bowls, ceramic dishes covered in concentric script designed to trap demons and protect the household. In Mesopotamian magic, the combination of iron and copper had nothing to do with conductivity. These specific metals were used for their perceived spiritual properties, believed to bind and empower the spells hidden within the vessel. We can no longer search for microscopic papyrus traces on the original Kujut Rabu artifact. It vanished during the looting of the National Museum of Iraq following the 2003 U.S. invasion, leaving us to work only with replicas. Modern humans are so defined by our reliance on machines that we can look at a deeply spiritual, magical artifact and only comprehend it by turning it into a battery. The legacy of this jar reveals our own modern hubris, a projection of our technological obsession onto a past that was looking for protection, not power.